Hello, this is Adam Erickson, Vice President of Sales for HULFT. We are a leading data integration and digital transformation company. This morning we have with us Laura Pullins, our Head of Digital Supply Chain, who's been diligently working on creating useful solutions for supply chain transparency. Laura, welcome.
Thank you.
So Laura, what are we going to see today?
What we're going to see today is our warehouse inventory reconciliation application.
Those are some complex words. So why did we design this thing?
So many of us work with 3PLs, third-party logistics providers. And when you work with a third-party logistics provider, they're running the inventory. So this solution is designed to very quickly reconcile the inventory that's being stored at the warehouse in their system with the inventory that's stored in your ERP system or a company's inventory of record.
So basically within the ecosystem, who would use this?
Well, that's a good question. There's many folks that can use this. So if you're in the warehouse, it would be a great application for you to use just to verify that your inventory and the transactions that you have sent to your customer, those are correct or are correctly being reflected. At the end of the day, the warehouse is responsible for the inventory on hand, and so it's good to identify where you have variances early on. From a perspective of your customer, or being the customer, you would always want to know what the value of the inventory is that you have at the warehouse and if you have any discrepancies that you have to correct. So in some cases, let's say you reflected a shipment to a customer and you invoice that customer. However, the warehouse shipped a different sales order to a different customer and that customer has not yet been billed. So there's some different applications for inventory reconciliation.
Okay, well, why don't you show us what you designed and what we got?
What you see in front of you now is the inventory reconciliation platform. It's very straightforward. So if you would like to search by a particular item number, you can search by a particular item number. This is the initial screen, and what it's going to tell you is mismatched data and matched data. So of course, when we're looking at inventories to reconcile, we want to reconcile the exceptions. So in this case, I'm going to just look at mismatched data in the inventory reconciliation period of all. So I could choose a custom range, and we have the dates here for the custom range. But today I'm just going to look at all. I'm going to hit search, and it's going to return to me any of those inventory lines that have a variance. So in this case, you'll see I have a variance between the warehouse and the ERP system. So my warehouse is telling me I have 4,000 pieces on hand and I show that I have 0. What's really cool about this solution is now I can drop down into the details and I can actually look at the transaction and the transaction date that's being reconciled. So not only are we looking at the volume and the SKU number, we're also reconciling the transactions and the transaction date so that you're sure that everything in the warehouse system is reflected in the ERP system and vice versa.
Now I know we're using our HULFT Integrate data integration tool in the back end.
Correct.
Normally, when we talk about connecting to warehouse systems, ERP systems, it's fraught with danger and it's a complex thing. In this particular scenario, are we just comparing reports on a timely basis? How heavy of a lift is this for someone to get up and running?
This is very straightforward for someone to get up and running. So with HULFT Integrate, the tool allows you to connect your ERP system very quickly to the Integrate solution and then pull the information from the warehouse system. And what's running behind in the Integrate solution is actually the reconciliation at the line level, at the line item level. So again, it's not just reconciling an item number and the value, it's quickly running through all the different transactions and looking at dates of the transaction numbers, and quantities.
So within this, I know I've heard stories from your customers that one of the big things that they face and why you designed this app was, every morning when I wake up, if something is mismatched, I need to know it as soon as possible so I can place a phone call and get something reconciled. So with this
Exactly.
particular application, Does this help solve that particular issue?
It does solve this particular issue. So I want to focus on this example right here. It says manufacturing goods inventory. And if I looked at this and I was just looking at my comparison of volume or quantity, I would see I had 1,000 pieces in the warehouse and 1,000 pieces in the ERP system. And normally we would just move on from there. But really what we're finding here in this scenario is I shipped to two different we reflected it in two different customers. So I'm showing in my ERP system that I shipped 50 pieces in this sales order, where the warehouse is reflecting that they shipped 50 pieces in this sales order. So this is one of those examples, Adam, where you would go back and say, wow, I really needed to get this reconciled quickly because I'm going to be invoicing a customer that did not receive any product, and a customer that received product is not going to be invoiced.
Now, is that a common issue in the industry? Because to me, being outside, number one, it sounds like it would create internal hassles, which takes time, but also it's a customer service issue when you're erroneously bill customers, or you just show that you don't have your own house in order.
Sure. This is one of those examples that is probably just not so much of a regular example, but it does happen. And in this case, you want to be able to catch these. This is also an example of probably maybe some kind of communication error in the number, the transaction error. So when you have people involved in moving the information back and forth or confirming the order, you definitely want to have a reconciliation afterwards to, again, like you were talking about, take a look at your customer service side of it, make sure the right client is being billed, the right customer is being billed, but also to know that you didn't ship a customer. So in this case, you have one customer that did not get their shipment, and another customer that's being billed for something they didn't receive.
So does the application have any, once it gets set up, does it have any limitations as far as, can I get this updated to the minute, by the hour? I don't know the frequency level that would normally be required, but once it's set, is that upon my desire to say when I want those reports to be generated?
Sure. I mean, that's a good question. It is based on how you run your process and how you'd like to have the information generated. So you can choose to generate the information at the end of the day. You can choose to generate the information between shifts. You could choose to generate the information, after lunch to verify that everything is okay before you start moving cargo or inventory again. It's just dependent on how your process is structured and where you would want to do the reconciliation. So,
Now, I know we're looking at the web version here. I believe you also work with the engineers to make this available on mobile devices.
sure, we do. We have it both available on Android and on iPhone products. And what I think is great about that is that your warehouse guys or someone that's in the office can quickly look at mismatched data. So it's definitely exception management. And also, if you have a day that you're shipping heavy on a particular item, you certainly can enter the inventory item number here and check to see what's happening with that inventory item number, and that product is moving in and out of the warehouse effectively.
Awesome. Well, I know we're going to give your contact details at the end slide here. I would highly suggest for anyone that's interested in seeing this and having a walkthrough with Laura, give her a call, send her an email. Additionally, once again, for us to get this set up and running, normally it's a fairly seamless, easier process to achieve an outcome. So Laura, great job. Look forward to our next session. Once again, helping solve some of the supply chain transparency issues with some cool applications.
Thank you.